Hey everyone, happy Friday. Happy Friday. Good Friday. Friday, April 18th. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi Jess, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
You're in the green room?
I'm in the green room. I am in, why show you a Delta lounge? I'm in a lounge in an airport and my AirPods aren't connecting. So here we go.
Hey, well it's good. You look good.
Great.
How do you feel?
For, for running to the lounge?
Yeah, you feel like that was the closest you've ever gotten to just being there right on time, you know?
Yeah. And let's see if I can unblur my background. There's a nice little popcorn machine.
Ah,
You know
nice.
how like when you're like, I don't know, I'm so used to doing everything on the fly, it feels like in my life, including taking calls on the way to softball games. And I'm running up the stairs with my suitcase and I hear the popcorn machine on my way up the stairs. I'm like, avoid the popcorn machine. Of course, that's the only
So
seat.
what city are you in?
Say it again.
What city are you in?
Oh, I'm in San Francisco. I am a lucky person because I got to spend all day yesterday at the headquarters of LinkedIn, and they showed me their
Oh, nice.
entire AI roadmap for the rest of the year. And some of you who might have gone to Talent Connect last fall saw their hiring assistant that made a lot of updates to the hiring tools they embed in the platform. Uh, so I saw that, but then I saw a bunch of other stuff they're releasing in 3 weeks that job seekers, all of you who are, whether or not you're a job seeker, all of you who are on LinkedIn, you're going to love some of the updates they're bringing in 3 weeks. And then more cool stuff in September that would probably surprise you coming out of LinkedIn. It's really, yes, thank you, John. It's exciting to see where they're going with their vision and their roadmap. They're not the job board of old. They're behaving like a proper platform, which is exciting to see.
Wow, that is quite the tease.
I know, I signed an NDA on my way in the room, so that's all you get.
Yeah, look at she's even curious about it now. So now we just have to wait for 3 weeks, I guess.
Just go follow all their product leads. Search LinkedIn product leads on LinkedIn and follow all of them, and they'll be rolling it all out.
I'm more interested in popcorn at 10 a.m.
I know. They're making it fresh now. Sorry, guys. This is what we get today.
Smells good.
Yeah, it smells really good. My kids would love it.
So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining on Good Friday. I know that there's a lot of people off today, but we have a good group here. So thank you for joining, and for those of you listening, thank you for joining. Um, we always start the same way with a green, yellow, red. I think it's been a crazy week, so I'm extra interested to see the colors. And it shouldn't be just based on, thank God it's Friday, green.
Yeah.
But how is everyone? Honestly, green, great. Tammy had to look up. I asked Tammy what the blizzard of the month was. How are you today, everyone? Green, yellow, red. Heather, green, but so tired. Orangish, yellowish green. It's sunny in Seattle, so green. Nicole's a bit yellow red, exhausted. I think
Mm.
a lot of people need a weekend. Teal, exhausted for good,
Teal, that's
but
blue
definitely
green.
low.
So the
Green, my
skies
favorite
are
color.
blue, but green, hopefully.
Rebecca, green. And just so you know, for those of you listening, in the chat, I did ask someone what the blizzard of the month was. Because
That's why
she
we're getting,
because she works at Dairy Queen,
yeah.
works with Dairy Queen, and a confetti cake is the blizzard of the month. So for anyone that has a Dairy Queen, how many of you have been to Dairy Queen in April? This is a good question. How many of you have been to Dairy Queen in April? I have been. So I have when they open in my town in March. Ice cream cone, baby. I don't have a website, so I got LinkedIn. Not me, but my son has been twice. Yes, yes, Minnesotans will wait in any length of line for ice cream. Yeah,
That's
very,
true.
very, very
I
true.
love
Jess,
seeing
have you
rain.
been? Have you been yet?
For sure, because I have two sports kids and spring sports start around April. And you can't have a game and not go to Dairy Queen after. Do you know how many pictures I have of my kids in uniforms in front of a Dairy Queen?
For
So,
sure.
yes,
For sure. Jess, how are you? Green, yellow, red.
I am hard red today.
Hard red.
Yep,
Sorry to hear. I look forward to catching up later.
you will be caught up.
Good. Um, and so sorry to hear that. Anything you'd like to share with the group about that, or
Hmm.
you
Just
don't
give
have
me
to.
3 seconds to process what I might share.
Okay. I'm yellow today while you're processing. Um,
Yes.
and the reason I'm yellow is it's been a long week, but I actually had to do. I was trying to take it off. I didn't ever have these hospital
Oh,
bands
yeah.
on.
Oh,
So I
but
was
you
in
went to like a water park. That's a hospital?
no, I was in the hospital this morning having a test done,
Oh,
and just a test, but I got so like here's the band still. I got so saddened by the state of healthcare.
uh,
Um, I get I was telling uh Leah in the green room, I kind of get sick going to a hospital just because
like physically sick, you catch there or you get
no,
sad.
mentally sick. It's
Yeah.
depressing. It's really, really hard. Um, it feels like no one enjoys going to work. It feels like
Mm,
I guess no one's happy to be there. So
mm.
it kind of brought me down for a Friday morning.
Maybe
But
we should get into healthcare transformation, Jason.
it sounds like a small little thing to get into, right? For the United
Right.
States.
Because I'm sure
Um,
nobody does that.
but anyway, that's why I'm a little bit yellow today.
Mm.
But also it encourages me that there's amazing people in the healthcare space, even though they may not love what they do. At the same time, I like seeing the fact that they show up every day and dealing with what they have to deal with. As I was watching them, I got there really early, 6 a.m., watching them all show up to work. Um, I think it's amazing what they do for all of us.
Oh,
That
completely.
I could never, I probably don't have the stomach or the patience to do.
Yeah, I agree, Scott. Healthcare workers, we have a lot of heroes in our world, and healthcare workers are one of them for sure. I have to say, my mom has been enjoying her retirement and has never watched so much TV in her life since she retired from the VA. The only thing I'll say, and then we can move on, I'll probably have more to say about this when I've probably need some processing time. There are moments where you have an opportunity to decide who you are and what you stand for, how your personal values show up in every part of your life. And we're being given a lot of those opportunities to make decisions about how we show up and what we stand for and the impact we hope to have in our lifetime. I only get so many years on this planet, and I have a lot of purpose and impact and a legacy I hope to leave behind, not just because I'm a mom, but because I'm a human. And you get to make big and small decisions along the way about how you show up and what you stand for. And probably don't even think about half of them: how you treat people, how you speak, the type of work you do, how you spend your time, whether it's fulfilling personal passions or volunteering. And sometimes there are bigger moments. And I'm at a pretty big moment right now.
Thank you for sharing, and thanks for putting it that way.
Yeah.
They're hard. They're hard. Sometimes the things are that we all. Well, let me rephrase what I was about to say. I think that the stay who you are. Everyone needs to stay true to who they are, no matter what they're dealing with. And I think that if you do that, at the end of the day, you're going to die. Excuse me, live with no regrets.
So I just took a pretty interesting, tough phone call. from the airport. Like I just barely got to the airport and I had to kind of stay where I was to take a phone call before I went through security. And I was very much in my headspace on this phone call, not paying too much attention to my environment. And when I hung up, a young woman, a flight attendant for Alaska Airlines, came up to me and said, "I'm so sorry I overheard that conversation, but I'm really glad I did. Thank you." She said, "Might I ask for more context?" And I said, "I can give you a little bit of context." And she said, "Please don't stop. Please do exactly what you're doing." So, and then I ran through security and ran to the lounge and I'm still sweating and here we are.
That's good. We're real.
We're real.
Thank you for doing what you do.
Oh, Christine. I'll say more. You guys,
Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on for now. So the other thing we do before we get our guest on, which I'm really excited about today, is kind of one big thing. And Jess, you don't get to talk about the call you were just on.
My one big thing will come later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But I'd love everyone to just in the chat put their one big thing for the week. One of the things that I've been trying to do more and more with the team of people that I get to work with here at Mercer is get them to try to think about one big thing. Because I really think that we're in a world where everything is moving and everything is changing so fast. Innovation is really important. And well, as Jess said, it's important to stick with your core set of beliefs and your foundation. At the same time, we have a bunch of stuff that we have to adjust to in the world, especially related to technology, how work works, how we think, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd love for you to put in their chat your one big thing this week that you feel like you accomplished, whether it be work-wise, personal, et cetera, et cetera. While you're putting it in, I'd love to read a few of them that call out. I'm going to call mine out really, really quickly. And mine was related to mindset. And I talk a lot about mindset, but I oftentimes when I talk about mindset, I think people get sick of me talking about mindset because I kind of get sick of me talking about mindset, but I haven't figured out exactly the right way to keep my mindset adjusted. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but like you keep going back. Like it's so easy to fall back into old ways of thinking instead of thinking about new ways of being, quote unquote, in the new world. So I actually I actually came up with a way for myself to catch myself whenever I'm about to do something, to be able to say, is that the old way or is there a new way? And this isn't just related to AI and technology. This is related to being. And I'm not going to share my way because it's kind of a personal thing, but it's kind of a feeling that I get. And for me, it's worked like 5 times where I said, if I don't say something, am I going to regret it? If I don't act, am I going to regret it? And I said, well, that's the old way of thinking versus a new way of thinking. And it's made me come through the week and actually feel like I've accomplished a ton more, probably more this week than I've accomplished in the last 20, let's just say. So that might not be a one. By the way, some of it's personal.
I love that.
Some of it's personal, and some of it is professional.
Yeah. Stacy, congrats. PMP exam. After 20 years of leading projects and teams, you got your certification. Jeff, hope for the future gives us power in the present. Oh, I wish. Yes. Chris, one of my direct reports worked through a bad confrontation with one of his coworkers. I wonder if I can say this. Related to coaching, LinkedIn is doing some When I said they're releasing some stuff in September you wouldn't expect from them, it's not just about we think about LinkedIn as a job board, job postings, job seekers, and professional networking and connections. They're doing some really cool things for helping you thrive in your current job, related to coaching. Again, the power of AI and role playing and scenario planning kind of, I really, really, really love what they're up to. That's cool. That made me think of that.
Yeah, I
Really,
saw that, Stacy. I saw that on LinkedIn also. So congratulations for that. And I want Lynn, that your comment on the the article I read about adoption versus embodiment, it actually came from a really bad place. Interestingly enough, and I didn't really talk about the bad place, but it came from a call with a client that I was actually on, who like was almost boasting about AI adoption, and that X number of people have adopted AI this week. And
mm,
I asked the question. I was like, "Well, so what do you feel changed?" And they honestly looked at me like I was smoking something crazy. And I was like, "Why are you looking at me like that?" They're like, "That's," and it drove me crazy because they're like, "That's our measure is how many people adopted." I'm like, "When you say adopted, what do you mean?" And they're like, "You know what adoption is, right?" Like we had this long conversation, and I was like, "Yeah, I know what it is." It's like you're saying used it, and they're like, "Yeah, like we measured how many people used it."
logged
I was
into a tool.
like, "Yeah, exactly." I was like, that's a stupid measurement."
Yeah.
And it got me thinking. The reason I wrote that piece, and thank you for calling it out, Lynn. I can put the link in there as soon as I get done talking if you haven't seen it. But is that I like that's not adoption might mean lots of different things to lots of different people. But the reason that AI is not the internet, or the reason that AI isn't Windows, is that it's AI should be about embodying a new way of working, being, living, being human, et cetera, et cetera. It shouldn't be about usage.
Yeah.
And I think that if it, I'm reading Lynn's comment as I'm talking, is if you start to think about it that way, then all of a sudden it's not like, well, what tool did I use or things like that. It's how am I being? How am I embodying, which is why I use that term, myself in the world that we live in today.
Mm,
And I just think it's a really important distinction to make, to not talk about the tool, because we're all gonna like, we're already tool overloaded. We're about to get more tool overloaded. And I honestly think all we're doing is frustrating a lot of people with more tools instead of truly thinking. I think we're close to being overtaken by people that actually understand that the way we've been working is old, stupid,
yeah.
outdated, et cetera, because we're not changing ourselves.
Yeah. Wow, Martin, what a way to put that. AI is a part of my self-expression. I love that. Related to tool adoption, I was having so many flashback moments at LinkedIn, for a couple of reasons, but Microsoft used to be one of my biggest recruiting customer. And of course now they're parent company to LinkedIn, but they used to buy recruiter licenses for everybody. If you were in talent acquisition, everybody got a recruiter license on LinkedIn. And their measure of success was logging in, using your license. They measured logins. And if you didn't log in 6 months, you lost it. So use it or lose it. That's how they managed budget. And I always thought, and I was I was selling them a new solution. And I was like, just give me your LinkedIn budget, because I know a third of your recruiters don't log into their licenses. Yes, exactly. What a silly KPI. And like when you're a company the size of Microsoft, we're talking about like tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars on licenses and tools for a global team like that. And it was that's all they checked. Have you logged in 6 months? Then you lose the tool. Instead of measuring the impact of different sourcing tools and strategies and unfortunately, I think we do that in a lot of places. Is anybody using this benefit? Oh, get rid of it. Nobody's using tuition reimbursement? Oh, scratch it. We'll save that money. Instead of like, we don't properly like communicate and package the value of things so that people want to use it or even know that it's there.
But and Jess, I do think, and I'm just going to say this because this is a whole discussion that we should have at some in one of these
Yeah.
meetups. Imagine, imagine the day that's not that far away. And you were involved in a LinkedIn conversation this week about this kind of when all of a sudden software vendors get paid based on consumption instead of paid on monthly license fees or yearly license fees.
We're
Imagine
already there. That's the AI world we're entering.
imagine the change of behavior of the software vendor and imagine the change of behavior of the comms function if we actually want people to use versus just say, hey, we give you a tool, go at it.
Yeah. I have a post brewing about this because I think it's important for people to understand around data security and privacy and how all of this is going to move forward. No shade, no shade. If anybody here fell for the Ghibli cartoon making, no shade. If you made a cute little cartoon or if you've ever avatared yourself, like fine, maybe. But you do realize that these platforms need users for valuation and data for training. And so all these little gimmicks where you upload your picture, you just gave it data and you just signed away your consent. But like they don't care about Ghibli cartoons. They want users logging in. So they create these fun little gamification things to for us all to like jump on this bandwagon, and you're giving them all your data, which is fine if you intend to, but I don't think a lot of people realize that's the gimmick. Like that's what's happening here. So again, if you love doing it and that's the way you want to hand over your data and your image and all of that. But I wonder how many people know that's the game.
Woo! 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 Woo!
I'll
Okay.
write that one up next. I'm on fire this week, so let's
Yeah,
go.
we better move on. So that's great. Jess, do you want to introduce our guest while we bring it on?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so
By the way,
excited.
that music, Jess, we didn't go through the why did we play
Oh
that
yeah.
song?
Was that
This
her
was our
song?
guest's song. This was
Okay.
our guest's choice of music today.
I love it. Well, we can have Rosemary tell us what she loves about that song and why she picked it. I love that everybody gives us their favorite song. Hi, Rosemary. Boy, you walked into a good one today.
I sure did. My mind is going all over the place.
So speaking of LinkedIn, I meet lots of interesting people on LinkedIn, sometimes through mutual shared connections or passions or interests. Sometimes people send me interesting articles. And I like to follow up on a lot of those introductions and referrals. And so Rosemary and I know each other sort of through networking and just shared interests and things. And we had a cool call a few weeks ago, Rosemary, and you piqued my interest over the concept of a requisite organization. And so I know we're going to talk a little bit about that theory and what it means and why it's really pertinent right now, I think, as we talk about transformation and disruption. But before we get to all of that, I'd love the community to welcome Rosemary and give us a little bit of an introduction and why that song and all of that good stuff.
Well, it's a funny thing about that song. That's one of my favorite songs. So whenever I hear it, I just move. My body just gets up and walks around my office. And a former partner of mine sent it to me this week. And she said, I think of you and I think of this song, and I just got up dancing in my office, and maybe you will too. And I played the song and I just jumped up and started dancing. It's a happy song. For me, it gets me energized and excited about whatever is in front of me. It's not, I cannot sit still,
I love it.
that song. And so when I heard it, when I registered, it was like, oh, here we go again. It's just and I started just moving my body again.
I love it.
So I have a business called B, and it stands for Bova Enterprises. So what you and Jason, and I want to thank you both for having me on here today.
Of course.
First and foremost is a thank you. But my company is about helping people. If I really look at the long term of where the company is, it's really helping people to be themselves in the workplace. And my passion has to do with really allowing work systems to think about how they're treating their employees so that they can get so that the employee themselves can be excited about the work that they're doing, whether it is at the ground level or the CEO level. You know what I mean? At anywhere in that organization, you need to have people that are engaged in what they're doing, that feel that they are making a contribution to the work of the organization. And this, I want to say relatively recently, it wasn't this week, but relatively recently, I've always been a person who is curious about my own psyche. Who am I? Why am I the way I am? What are my fears, my concerns, and whatnot? And so I've done a bit of, coaching, but I consider myself more of a consultant. And I had this aha moment recently that said, wait a minute, the reason why requisite organization doesn't take root in organizations has to do with the mindset of the individual executives who are either uh, not conscious of who they are, or they are frightened. They might be afraid. So I said to myself, well, what if you had this intersection? And what I created was legendary managerial leadership, which is addressing both the mindset piece and the personal growth piece of executives in large work systems, and the introduction of the principles that underlie requisite organization. And I think I'm going to go out. I think I am on the precipice of a transformative way of thinking about work and work systems. So I am thrilled about this.
Wow. I mean,
This is a heavy Friday.
It is a heavy Friday, but it's a good Friday.
You're right. It is. It definitely is. It definitely is a good Friday.
So will you explain before, okay, what a table setting right there. Will you
Yeah.
explain the concept of requisite organization? Because now that's we need that table set.
Okay, so it's going to be hard for me to do that in the 15-20 minutes I have. But what I will say is that it's the work of Dr. Elliot Jacks. He's been dead for about 20 years now. And what he did was analyze work systems. And so it's not that he thought this up and then applied it. It's that it came from the workers themselves in unionized shops and other kinds of systems where workers are smart. Everybody is ready to make a contribution. So it is what I would call a total management system. And if you think about at the center of a circle, you have your business strategies and your business values, okay? And then you have a larger circle around that. I'm using my hands because I'm Italian and I speak with my hands. You have a larger circle around that, and you have the right structure for that business. And I want to underline that for that business. It's not, you can't cookie cutter structure. You have to recognize that structure is different for every business, but the principles remain the same. The principles about how you design your structure will remain the same. So you have the right structure, you have the right people in the right roles, and then on the bottom of that circle, you have systems and processes that support that work being done. And you get extraordinary results. So what I have, I mean, I'm happy to discuss this with you further, but I just want to leave it there
Yeah.
for now. Is
So-
that enough of a table setting?
Yeah, I think so. And Jason and I use a concept, Jason says it more than I do, frosting on a moldy cake. And when we use that analogy, it refers to sort of painting over something without addressing its structure.
Yes.
And we do that a lot with workforce experience initiatives, with technology initiatives. That's why our tech stacks get so messy and unwieldy. Things get disconnected. We work in fragmented systems that don't feel good or make sense. And I think a lot of times it has to do with doing something cosmetic without addressing structural elements.
That's
Is that a decent explanation of how this looks in practice?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love this idea of the frosting on a moldy cake.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. No, it's brilliant because everybody has
Jason's.
seen. Yeah, no, but everybody has seen a cake that's moldy,
Yeah.
and then you're just covering it up, and then you get sick. When you take a piece of that cake, it affects your inner workings. So not only is it affecting the inner workings, but it's affecting the team's workings. It's affecting the entire structure. So it's really it's a brilliant analogy.
Yeah.
So Rosemary, it's interesting because that specific analogy is used for, I use it for lots of different things. But in this particular case, my question is, hey Brad, my question is, if it's let's take that frosting on a moldy cake. If you look at organizations today, and you look at everything that organizations are facing today, uncertainty around our government, uncertainty around AI. What's the topic of the week that somehow we're being thrust into, and the organization is having to deal with it, but then the people in the organization also have to deal with it as well. Yeah, I'm curious, how much do you see organizations actually having good cake, or how much of it is just frosting, and then underneath there's really a pandemic of sick organizations?
I believe that underneath there is a pandemic of sick organizations.
Yeah, I've never used that before, but it's the way it came out.
Yeah, no, I believe that exists, but I also believe that the planet and people on the planet, let's just use the United States, are ascending. As you both were talking, your use of AI and how that can how using AI can help the individual worker become a better worker, be more effective, have more free time is really quite extraordinary. But what we have now is a fear-based view of AI. Everybody is afraid of AI. People are, afraid to use it. I mean, people are frightened. People are afraid of losing their jobs. But I think when you think about the total ascension of organizations, where we're going. And it's a very different, the mindset has to really shift. It has to turn a corner, because what got us here is not going to get us to be successful, next year. It's just not. And so the work that has to be done is a lot of transformative coaching work that helps individual workers and I'm talking about executives, because I work best at that level. I basically speak over, lower people that are lower in the organization, so they don't grasp it. But CEOs and leadership teams do grasp what I'm talking about, and they're hesitant. They're tentative about, dipping their foot in the pool or in the ocean. I mean, you can go from the pool to the ocean, but it's
Yeah.
So,
think-
sorry, Jess,
Oh,
I'm
that's
sorry.
okay.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, it's sort of, and Jason and I and all of the people we work with here in a transformation business
Mhm.
run into this every so often when we get ethereal and talk about big transformative concepts. It's sort of, but how do you rip everything down to the studs and rebuild when we still have a business to run every day?
Mhm.
And that's hard. It's hard to tell somebody to do something truly transformative and to be willing to go down to the studs while you continue to execute and operationalize every day. And Jason, I don't want to veer from where you wanted to go, but that's top of mind for me. I love everything you're saying. We run into similar resistance when we talk about the change that would truly be required to execute transformation at scale.
And Rosemary, just along with the lines of what Jess just asked, and it was very, I mean, not surprisingly, but we're on the same wavelength. Is do you think that a lot of these big organizations are going to be able to survive? Because, like, I mean, I see a lot of them operating like barges in a world that requires speedboats.
Yes,
And
yes.
I just I've never seen anything like it for as long as I've been alive. So I'm just curious.
It's interesting, because I do think that the smaller businesses, I'm not talking about small businesses, but I'm talking about, like, say 5 million in revenue and up. I don't know where that up ends, but I think smaller manufacturing firms in particular, or service providers, will be ripe for this kind of work, because it's manageable. Where you have a company like like a Marsh McLennan, where you have so many companies in the umbrella of Marsh McLennan. Now, maybe the companies can change, the different companies, and when another person sees that something is working well, they want it. They want to try and taste it, or kind of feel it. And so that is, a possibility. But I also want to address the issue of how do I operationalize this? And what I generally do is do an analysis of, from the top to the bottom of the organization, of maybe 2 or 3 functional areas. And there is a specific interview protocol that is used. And so it identifies where the work falls on a grid. So what Elliot did was design a grid of, I think it's up to 9 now. When I started, it was at 7. So there were basically areas of where work fell. And one of the most extraordinary things about where work fell was whether you were in sales or finance or technology, if you fell within a band, you got a certain range of salary that was allotted to that band. See, what we have now in organizations is, if you know, we have a lot of, you get a bonus, you get this. So that actually undermines people doing the best job, because they want to get the salary that is going to allow them to feed their family and send their children to the right colleges, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It undermines exactly what people are trying to provide. So
Yeah.
it's so by just using this, he called it felt fair pay. By using this banding and using salary grades in a different way, it takes out all of the lack of trust in systems.
Mm,
It's, you know, because people are not trusting.
yeah.
People, we are now very individualized. So even though you want a team to work, there's still politics and friction in that teamwork. And that has to be eliminated if we want to be the innovative companies and country that
I
we
love
want to be.
the concept of what you're describing is back to the mindset thing. It's the idea of transparency so that you can identify any fears, blockages, mindset issues, like where is the friction and the rub in the organization that's causing something not to work? And you can't change something to work better unless you remove the barrier, the blockage, the mindset issue, the leadership issue, or whatever it is. And so it feels like a little bit of a reckoning. Like you're basically saying there needs to be a reckoning before you can execute a better system. Otherwise, back to the frosting on a moldy cake.
Yes. Well, you know, when I do an analysis, I do uncover things that people generally don't want to address. You know, I uncover, you know, salary disparities. Uncover systemic racism kinds of things. Um, but I think I believe, and you know, I feel like I feel like I'm carrying the flag here, because I truly feel this in my bones. I truly feel this, that we just need to change, to transform our organizations. And by transforming the organizations, you have to transform the people who work in the organizations. You have to transform the people that are at the top. So it's not that I don't think that they're bad people or that they're negative. They don't know what they don't know. And so it's an extraordinary opportunity to be working both and to work that intersection. And you know, I'm trained enough that I can do both. And so I'm excited. And now it's a matter of finding clients. You know, it's you know, who wants to work that way.
So Rosemary, I love how you were talking about this. The question, and I like how you said, I'm not going to say it exactly the way you said it, but we're individuals. Uh,
Yes.
you know, I really like that. You know, we talk a lot about personalization, we're individuals and things like
Mhm.
that. You know, I'm curious when you think about like the trust barometers and, you know, and this is I didn't freeze. I was trying to figure out how to say this. Um, we're, it, are the days over? And, you know, I'm really speaking in absolutes today, it seems like, but are the days over where people should trust their company? Or actually, let me rephrase it. Not should trust their company. Are the days over when people are going to trust their company? And and we as organizations, or we as leaders, or we as people who are shaping where work is going, need to deal with that instead of trying to get it. Because
Well,
I think we're all trying to earn this trust, and I'm not sure that people want to even trust their company. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense.
well, I think as human beings, one of the things that we know about humanity that makes us different than the animal world is that we are relational and that we do invite some degree of trust. Trust is earned, as you said. But we had the pandemic, and I think trust has been eroded by what happened during the pandemic, and people were just, Maslow had that hierarchy of needs, and we were down at that bottom looking for our own survival. And I think I think that I just lost my train of thought. Shoot. Um, I think what we need. I know where I was going. So what's happening now, whether you like it or not, where you have someone going in and cutting out jobs in the federal government without any rhyme or reason. There's no plan, there's no anything. They're just, get rid of 7,000 people. That is instilling a lack of trust in everybody in the country now. And so I think that you have to take what I would call baby steps, and then a little larger step, and then another larger step to create an environment, because people will work for someone who treats them with integrity and respect and appreciation. It's not about money that why people work for certain people. People will stay with the person for a long time, even if things might be a little crazy in that system. But if they know that the person, that their boss or the owner of the business cares about them and will support them, they will stay. And we have created something that is I really don't even have the words to say what we've created, because it's greed oriented. People are looking for fulfillment of their life's dreams by buying items. It doesn't come that way. I mean,
Yeah, Rosemary, I've talked a fair bit about this in terms of our relationship with work.
mhm,
And I do agree, a sense of shared integrity even if there's not full and mutual trust. I mean,
right.
maybe that only needs to go so far, because at the end of the day, work is not the same as an intimate relationship.
Mhm.
But I think a shared sense of purpose is awesome, but integrity is more important to people. Do you have my back when it counts the most? Do I align with your sense of purpose and moral compass and responsibility and that kind of thing? And that's why I love the work you're doing, because it doesn't just paint the fence. It gets to the root of
Yeah,
the issue a little bit, which matters more. It's also harder.
it's harder. It's much more difficult. I mean, you can't that's why it's interesting, because for a long time I thought negatively of the coaching world, because everybody wants to be a coach. The fastest growing industry, well, one of the fastest growing industries. But you cannot You cannot, I mean, I have 30 years of experience. I know how to coach a person, but I also, know how, the requisite organization principles and how to apply them. Now, I'm not going to say that I am going to be expert, and the organization that I recommend to an executive is going to be the end all be all. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying is we're going to get into a dialogue, and we're going to work together, and they don't need me. They need me for the first time. After that, they will use me as an advisor. Do you know what I mean? It'll be more like a coach consulting, because I will leave the principles of this work with the company. I'm not gonna, I'm not saying that I'm in the end all be all, but what I want is a dialogue and an opportunity to help them to think about things in a different way. I mean, I certainly don't know everything, it's, but I do know how to build trust, and I do know these principles, and I believe that what I can do will bring that company to the next level.
I love it. Thank you so much, Rosemary, for being on with us today. I personally want to hear your song again, and I would love to play everybody out with that song. I'm going to give everybody 6. Don't you love it when meetings end and everybody's like, I'm going to give you 2 minutes back? Like, that's what we become as Zoom creatures. But I know I need to run to a gate. And so I'd love to play everybody out with, yeah, with your song again, Rosemary. Thank you for this concept. I think it's helpful for us all to learn and understand new concepts and ways of thinking about building not just high performance organizations, but trust and good relationships, that we can all be happy at work. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Jason, have an amazing weekend. I'll be back in gloomy Minnesota soon.
The sun just came out. The sun just came out. You're good.